Hi, ladies. Welcome to Lev Mekudesh. We are entering into the 12th month, actually the first of 13 months, but we have a double Adar this year for the leap year, and we're going to be talking about that. But before we get started, Adar is about joy, and on the way here, I don't think it was any coincidence that a song popped up that I just love when I hear it. So I'm going to attempt to see if we can get it played as a little intro to get going. We'll see if there's a couple more people that show up for night, and then after the song is done, we'll get going with our study and our questions and answers, ladies. So let me see. Oops. There we go. Share screen. This one. Sorry. It's good to know. Just enjoy, ladies, and worship.
When you share your screen, you'll need to go back out, come back in. When you share your screen, you want to say share sound as well, because we don't hear it.
Okay, what did I do, Charlie?
So when you hit share screen and then look at the bottom, it'll say share audio as well.
Oh, okay, great.
That's all you need to do then.
Okay.
Today, I ain't gonna let no clouds get in my way. The only road I'm walking is the one I pick. Catch me sitting in the sun, no time for shade. Today. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I ain't gonna let it slip away. I'm gonna be joyful. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be joyful. Today, I'm gonna be joyful. Ooh, I'm gonna be joyful. I got that feeling that you get when you get new kicks. Bell ringing on the last day of singing, yeah. High-fiving everybody, but we out of here. Today. So fast, life comes and goes. Make it last, best slow your roll. They don't take it as a choice, but you gotta know that today's the day. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I ain't gonna let it slip away, nah. I'm gonna be joyful. Ooh, I'm gonna be joyful. Today, I'm gonna be joyful. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be joyful. Today. I got the joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I got the joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I got the J-O-Y down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I got the joy down in my heart. Today.
Okay, ladies, hope you enjoyed them. Oh, what row? There we go. Now we're back in. I just love that song, and I love that it was playing right on my way here. So I just thought that was perfect as we're talking about Adar and getting into the month of joy that I think a lot of us are just ready to walk into. So hope you enjoyed that. And we are going to talk just a little bit. I just have a few screens tonight about Adar, just so you have those things in your mind as you're going through the first Adar. And if you're unfamiliar, if some of you have probably been doing this long enough that, you know, you're used to the leap years that they have. I think it goes on a 19-year cycle. So it's like a 3 and a 6 and a 9. I can't remember exactly how all that works, but every several years, every few years, they will have an extra Adar put in there. So you'll have your first Adar, which we're in right now, which is kind of like your bonus Adar. And so they call us a pregnant year. So we're kind of waiting, we're a little extra anticipation going on. And then the second Adar is considered like the true Adar. That's where the true Purim will be in. They have a Purim Katan, they call it, which is like a little Purim that they recognize in this coming up month. But the true Purim, if you celebrate the traditional holidays and the fast day of Esther, those will take place always the month before Passover. So if you're ever wondered, I just figured that out last year for myself, because last year we had a double Adar. And so I'm on a calendar that's behind you guys. So this year, you guys will have that. And so then we will finally meet back up in the month of Nisan. And I look forward to that, so that we're all on the same, or the majority of us will be on the same schedule again. It'll be nice. So I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen here. Spin you guys around. All right. Okay. So the month of Adar is our 12th month. Some of the pictures I have on here, we have the fish here represent our constellation, which is Pisces, or Dagim. Dagim, I'm not exactly sure how it would be said in Hebrew, but that's the Hebrew word for it. There's also this idea of wrestling, because Naphtali is our tribe and their name means to wrestle. And so we still have some wrestling going on. I think that's always, I don't think we're ever not wrestling, because once we get through one thing, it's time to move on to another issue, or another something that the Father brings up that he knows that we have to deal with in our fleshly nature, our beast nature, whatever it may be that we're dealing with. And then we also have our Queen's Crown, because we're going to be talking about Queen Esther. She has a lot to do with the month of Adar. And then right down here, if you can see, if you're seeing the screen and not just listening, but that's my littlest one, who's now 12. This is when she was probably about 3 or 4. And I just loved, every time I see this picture, it makes me smile, because it thinks of joy. And I can remember us being on the back of our deck that day and taking pictures, and she was just laughing at something, and she's still like that. She's still full of joy. And so she is just precious. And so when I think of our kids like that, you know, it's so easy for them to have joy that sometimes we lose that as we get the weight of the world on us. So this is a reminder, this month is a reminder about that. So some of the themes that we're going to have, Adar meaning is uncertain, but they do associate it with strength, happiness, and rejoicing. So there's not like a specific Hebrew word, and it may have been Babylonian, it may have come from another Semitic word in that region, but that's what they associate it with: strength, happiness, and rejoicing. And so most of the themes are directly associated with Esther. Your madots, or your characteristics, we're thinking about charity and joy and temperance. And temperance is our moderation in our thoughts and our actions and our feelings. And I don't know about you, but I know that's one of those things that is kind of that constant play for me is my moderation in my eating habits, my moderation in my mood or emotional swings, and bringing those under the authority of the Holy Spirit. So those are just a couple things. So for us in our new moon study, what we do is we look at those medots, and I look at one and say, okay, what is it that I need to work on? What is it that I feel like the Spirit is telling me, like, this is what I want you to focus on this month? And so I would look at those and just kind of think about those things. And then we paint our rocks that we put those on, and then we might put the month on the back, and or the number, or maybe the Hebrew letter associated with the month. Excuse me. And so that's just a good way for us to keep it visually in front of us. So every time I pass my little sand art thing, it has my rock right there, and I can remember, how am I doing on this? Father, why don't you, have I, like, let's reevaluate, I'm 2 weeks in, so how's it going? So that's kind of how we do it. And our feast, we have the fast of Esther, and we also have Purim. And so those may be things that you're super familiar with. Maybe you've been doing those for a while or recognizing those for a while. Those are fairly new to me, as far as, like, I knew about them, but just never really had an outlet for, just learning about them. And so this last year is probably the last couple years, we've taken more of a deliberate action into reading the book of Esther, learning about Purim, learning about the prophetic things. I can't recommend Dr. Foreman enough. I know we talk about him a lot on the Aleph Beta, and Esther, the Queen You Thought You Knew, I believe is the book. I meant to bring it with me tonight. I finished that last year during the time of Purim. It's so good. Connections like I would never make, like with Joseph and Jacob and all of that, like would never have put those stories together, but he does it so beautifully and brings out so many really beautiful things in the Hebrew that we just don't get. And we need people like that have that knowledge to be able to bring it to light to us, if we're willing to look it up and learn. We're also going to be trading our sorrows for joy, like we've been talking about, giving to the poor and strength. Identity is a big thing, and which I find interesting that it came up today in Charlie's talk with one of our new members, Jessica, and that identity came up, and revealing your true identity and he who created you is one of those themes that we are going to be working in and walking in these next couple months. And some of that has to do with, so for this month, talking about Esther and her really, like, what am I here for? How can I be used by you? I'm not in the spot that I thought I was going to be. So she had to wrestle. There we go. She had to wrestle with those things, and we have to wrestle with those things. Just like if you had a chance to see the live Facebook discussion today, go back and watch that, and it was really good. Just an affirmation again of the things that we're going to be walking in this month. Some of the other things we see are in our Torah portions, because as we're walking out with Moses and the Israelites through the wilderness, we see those identity issues come up. They are trying to figure out who we are. We're not slaves anymore. We are now free. We are a nation. We are a nation of Yahweh, the Elohim, the one and only. And so we are his bride, and now we're walking it out. And then we see Moses, who has to deal with these authority issues that are coming up against him. And that'll be things that we talk about in the coming months. And so, again, look out at those Torah portions that are going to connect with that. So I'm going to do a couple more slides, and one is on Naphtali, which means to wrestle. And their emblem was a deer. And so another word for a deer is a hind. And I actually just learned that. I feel like, I don't know what I learned in my school, but I never learned that another name for a deer was a hind. So in college, I had friends who, were reading some of the classic Christian literature, and they were reading hind's feet on high places. And I don't know that I knew what it meant. So there's my little confession of I have no clue. I'm always still learning. But so it was only just a few years ago that I actually learned what a hind was. And Genesis 49:21 says, Naphtali is a deer who's let loose. He uses beautiful words. And some of those that the hind's feet on hind's places is Habakkuk 3:19. And then another one that is almost the same verse is Psalm 18:33. I'm going to read that for you. And I just love these connections that it made for this month. 18:33. I'm going to start in 32. Elohim's arms me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like those of a deer and gives me sure footing on high places. And then he trains my hands for battle so that my arms can bend an archer's bow of bronze. So that goes into 34. And then Isaiah 9:1-2. Isaiah 9:1-2, but there will be no more gloom for the land that is in distress. Elohim humbled the lands of Zebulun and Naphtali in the earlier times. But in the future, he will bring glory to the road by the sea, to the land across the Jordan, to Galilee, where foreigners live. And then verse 2 says, the people who walk in darkness will see a bright light. The light will shine on those who live in the land of death's shadow. So what's interesting about that, I don't have my tribal map that I had on the last time, but I'll put it up next month when we do this. Naphtali is that region, excuse me, that is west of the Galilee. It encompasses everything west of the Jordan around the Galilee. So not the east side of the Galilee, that was Manasseh, but the west side is what he was given. And that extends over. And so that area is the area where Yeshua was born and raised and ministered almost exclusively. And so that prophecy for Naphtali says that, you had your moment, you had your rebellion, and I dealt with you. But now I'm going to make you a place where the people who walk in the darkness will see bright light. And that's a prophecy of our Messiah, Yeshua. So this may be a time where we begin to share what's on our hearts. We're going to let it loose like the deer. It's going to be leaping and bounding. We're wrestling again with our identity. We're walking in victory. Are we walking in victory, or are we gripped by fear? Because Naphtali was gripped by fear. They were considered kind of cowardly. They didn't finish clearing out their land when they got in. And so they had some good moments. Deborah is also known, connected with Naphtali. And so that's where we get an idea of Naphtali being kind of a praise and worship and song writers, and maybe dancing. I've heard that before too. And if anyone has any, I kept looking for like a good source on that, whether you can find biblical or maybe some Jewish history on Naphtali being one of the tribes. I know Judah is our tribe of praise. That's what their names mean. But Naphtali is supposed to be like the dancing tribe. And I know that there's like some dance troops that will use that name, I've heard. So if you have some sources on that, I would love to see it and read it. So if you find an article before next month, please send it to me. That would be awesome. And then finally, our constellation is Dagim, or Pisces, the fishes. which I kept telling my husband, I'm like, fishes. It kept saying fishes in here, but fishes doesn't sound right. But dagim, they are the fishes. It's two fish that are bound by a band. And so we'll talk more about this next month. But in Genesis 48:16, it says, he's talking about Joseph's sons, and he says, let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And that can also be read as let them grow as fishes do increase. And so just another interesting connection there. What we've seen, we saw last month with our pail, our water pouring out into the fish. And we've seen, so let me go back and say that we had the ram who gave himself, right? And then his tail was fish. And we said that's kind of like a weird constellation. But we talked about how the death of the lamb gave us life. It born new life in us. It's created new life in us. And then we have the water pouring out that living water in us in the next month into the mouth of a fish. And then we have these fish then taking off. And then that's us, right? So we are these fish, we are the nations, we are the multitudes. We now are going out, and these fish are going in different directions. That's the way I see it. I just saw it as like he's poured the living water into this fish, and now we're going out, and just like in day 3 and day 5 on Creation Gospel, if that's still on your mind, here that seed, all those seed bearing plants, all of those things, we're now carrying it out all across the world, flowing with the Spirit wherever the wind is telling us to go. We are obedient and fulfilling that purpose. So it's a beautiful picture in the sky, and there's some great stars up there that we'll talk about next month that have some great names to go with it. Our letter is a kuf. Divide a horizon. I put that sun on there because the paleo was kind of like it was upright, like the line was upright, and then the circle, and then it kind of moved sideways at some point. And so it was that idea of a connecting day and night. And then the other meaning for it is like a needle, like the eye of the needle or a hole in the needle. And so if you think a needle connects, okay. And then we have the number 100. And so one of the things you can be thinking about is that 100, and what does that mean? That's, that is our, that tenfold of order, of commandment, of judgment. It makes us think of Abraham. There's so many different things that we could go with that 100. And so just be thinking about that and where that might feed into the month personally for you, or what you see in the world happening in the world. And then I didn't put, that's the end of my slides, but this is the 12th month, and 12, like 10, has to do with order. So he has 12 tribes. We have our 12 hours in the day. Our days are divided into 12 and 12. And so we have those kind of orderly things. That's where the 11th month that we were in is kind of that in between, kind of little chaotic or in transition. Well, now that we're coming to the end of our year, even though we've just started our study, we're coming to the end of our year. We're about to walk into that first month. And so we're beginning to see that cycle begin anew. And so it's like that, again, another transition where one thing is beginning and one thing is ending, connecting our day and our night. Or maybe it's our night since we've been in the dark months to now our day as we're coming into the spring and into the new life. So those are just some of the things that I wanted you guys to keep on your mind as we begin to walk those things out. Okay, unmute yourself. Let's chat. Let's see what's going on with everybody. You can tell me, like, I want to hear about any new moon studies you've had, any things you've been learning, or we can just chat. I have another hour before they kick me out of the library. I'm looking over here at the chat too.
I just had a quick question. I haven't been able to sign on to the new moon calls except for this one, so I apologize. But how does your family celebrate the beginning, like the start of a new moon? My kids are both small, so I'm trying to introduce them like into bite-sized portions of like Sabbath and the feasts of the Lord. And I guess just from your experience, what has worked well with sharing that with kids?
One of the things we did, I don't know if Rhonda's on here. I think it was two tabernacles.
I'm here.
I don't remember if it was 2 tabernacles ago. I can't remember, but we did like one of the fun ways to do it and tasty ways is you use Oreos and you make the phases of the moon with Oreos. You can find that on Pinterest. I've also with our kids class at our assembly, we've put, I put like, we took like black paper or like a gray paper, and then we did like white chalk or white crayon, and we shaded in like the different like new moon, like the sliver. So we did, you know, the dark and then the new moon, and then on to like the full moon, and then, you know, and that's another way, you know, so there's not like, because there's not like on the new moon, you will do it this way that we see in the word. We really have like this kind of open creativity that we can use. Our assembly has started meeting on the new moon to like try to sight it and blow the trumpet. I don't always make it, we're like 25 minutes away. So some nights I don't always make it in for there, but we always try to sight it, at least from our house. You know, we'll blow the shofar. Walking your land and praying is a really good idea. If for whatever reason, maybe you can't get out of your house, you could just walk your house, just walk the inside of your house and pray safety and protection over your home. And so that's one of the things that we've done. One time, my husband and I have only done this once together. So sometimes he'll be out because we live on a farm, and because he's on the farm, he'll, you know, he'll be out and he'll just be praying over the land anyway. But the one time we got to do it like really together on the new moon, you know, itself, we have a gator, a John Deere gator. And so we got in the John Deere gator and we went to the corners of our property and just blew the shofar and prayed and had a good time doing that. So if you have an assembly, you could pray around your assembly, you know, and then food is a great way to connect them. So when we do our new moon studies, we always try to incorporate the food. So like the foods for this month, I think they're, if you have Keisha's book, if you don't have Keisha's book, everybody go into your store at Rudy Cafe and get it. And so the ones this month, I think are kind of associated with her. So wine, fish is one. And so I don't think they have the fish because of Pisces, but it would make sense. But it has to do with some other connections. Fish and other wildlife were the only creatures not destroyed in Noah's flood. We are like those fish and the Jews of Esther's day. Though judgment or destruction was certain, those who trusted in Adonai were spared. And so the Haman station, if you're doing Purim, the cookies, they're like the little triangle cookies with like the jam in them. Those are delicious and always fun to make. It's supposed to be like Haman's hat. And then if you're really into like midrash, they're Haman's ears, because they say his ears were pointy, probably because he was like Nephilim or, you know, something weird like that. But so yeah, so bring in the food and like a craft, especially when you have little ones. is definitely a good way to do it. We talked about, because we're getting ready to enter in Shavat. And so Shavat is that month of trees. And that is a really fun one. Not this week, but the next week, right before Shavat for us, Rhonda and I are going to teach our children's class. She's going to read a book that she has about Tu B'Shavat and about the trees in Israel and replanting the trees. And then we talked about in our last class on Shabbat about doing the tree, like putting it on like a poster board, and then having the kids glue or attach verses. So they could be verses about trees. They could be verses about fruit, whatever it may be. So, that's another way, because kids love to, they love to do crafty things. So there's a few ideas. Just look at those themes and go to Pinterest. That's what I do.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any ideas for Caitlin, or can share some of the things that you guys do? I love Charlie said that he has been speaking about letting people wrestle with their journey in Torah because they need to be strengthened. And I totally agree. I think sometimes we want to sometimes take the wrestle on for them, or have them get it right away. But that's not their journey.
Could you explain Adar 1 and Adar 2 a little bit? Are you able to do that here?
Sure. Yeah, just so that the lunar calendar and the solar, so the seasons will line up. When they put the Hillel calendar together, I think it's a 19-year cycle. Actually, that is probably in her book too. I think it's in a 19-year cycle. Here we go. This occurs 7 times in a 19-year cycle and keeps the lunar-based calendar aligned with the solar seasons. So Adar 1 is added in the 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 17th, and 19th years. Now I have no idea what year we would be in that cycle right now, but I do know that last year is when I actually figured out that Adar 1 was kind of that extra insert, and not what I call it the true Adar. So when you come Adar, the true Adar, if there's a 1 and 2, it's Adar 2 that is the true Adar, and it will have the true Purim and is always a month before Passover. So I don't know if that helps.
It does. And I know that Christine Ballas, she says basically the same thing. She says that there are 2 months of Adar this year, hence the notation 1st and 2nd Adar. Why 2 months, you ask? It's called a Hebrew leap year. When a leap year occurs on the Gregorian calendar, an extra day is added to the month in February. But in a Hebrew calendar, a whole extra month of Adar is added, making back-to-back months of Adar. So.
Yep.
I like Mary Catherine said it's a buffer month.
Yes, it is. And it kind of helps you too. Like, especially I think if you're kind of new and like, this is going to be your first Passover, you're like, okay, I have an extra month. Like, that's how I kind of felt last year. Like, when we figured out we were not going to be kind of on the same schedule as far as our assembly with the traditional calendar, it was like, this might be frustrating. But then I was like, you know what? I have a whole nother month. and then I can see what everybody else is doing this month and what kind of decorations they put up. So that was kind of helpful, especially if you're new to doing some of the feast days. Anything else?
So the ladies know we also are developing, and it'll be done before Passover and in time for you to prep for Passover. But we are actually putting together Valerie Moody is actually building out a whole course on the
Awesome.
feasts and the festivals, and that will be available to all of you members. It will be member only. We'll be able to purchase it, but it'll be like probably close $100 at least, but you get it for free with your membership.
That'd be awesome. Will it follow her book?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And new stuff that she's included, you know.
Awesome. Anyone else with any questions or
Is that background noise yours, or is that your second?
it's Rhonda. Rhonda, can you hear me? Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
For somehow she ended up with mine. I don't know how that happened, but so Rhonda, you can talk if you unmute yourself. She wasn't sure if she could, since she wasn't on hers, if she could actually talk. But if you have some things to say.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I felt like a little kid who was in the corner, couldn't talk.
Come on out of that corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
I don't know what happened. I apologize for being late. I couldn't get in. It wouldn't let me in. I had to put your name. I had to type your name in and erase mine. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, I was just reading a little bit on, let's see, and the healing in the Hebrew months about the Adar. And I love this part where it says that Adar means strength. Well, it says we also celebrate the hidden or masked miracles, and Adar means strength. So I don't know if you said that, if you mentioned that already. And the associate letter is the kuf, which symbolizes masquerade. So just to think that, you know, Yahweh's miracles are always hidden and then revealed, right? It's such a wonderful, it's always the perfect time. It may not be in our time, but when he reveals it, you know, until we're waiting for it, if we're trusting and we're waiting for the miracle, we're waiting for the breakthrough, then our spirit is developing strength in that. So I really appreciate that. I love it that it's like it's the end, but going into a new cycle, right? So we're being given strength to press on and almost like refreshed to go into the new year.
Mhm. Yep, he knows exactly what we need and when we need it. And I didn't get into the revealing in this one as much as I had planned to for the next one. But yeah, with the idea of Purim, that idea of things hidden away, there's a lot of that in that Dr. Foreman book that I talked about or that mentioned. But things are hidden, and they're hidden for a time. They're hidden for a moment. So maybe that identity thing that we talked about that we're wrestling with, maybe there's things that you never ever anticipated. I never anticipated teaching new moon stuff for you know, the Rooted Cafe 2 years ago. That was not something, there was something that was hidden. It was like a little gem that had to be polished off. And so, which kind of goes too with the month, maybe polishing off some old gems, those adornments, are the adis, ADI, adis, I think we talked about those in Creation Gospel, the adornments that we have. So we may have taken some off because like we were saying today in the call earlier, because of, you know, maybe marriage and kids and just life, you know, sometimes you have to, and it's okay. I think the problem is that sometimes we get a resentful heart for having to put some of those things away sometimes. And we have to be careful with that, because he's saying, you can put this away now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to bring it back out. And we don't know, he may bring it back out. But when we give our dreams and our passions over to him, he's either going to polish them and make them anew, or he's going to say, here, I have something new for you. And it's really hard. I know it, especially if you were someone who was like very work oriented or ministry oriented beforehand, to find yourself in that place where you don't have that anymore. And I think usually a lot of time is because that's what was giving us our what's the word, like it was saying, it was giving us our identity in that, oh, you are a teacher, or oh, you are a minister. But first and foremost, I'm a daughter of the Most High. And so in that kingdom, I have the freedom to be so many things. I can be a wife and be a wife to the best of the ability that he gives me and teaches me. And I can be a mother, and I can cultivate that and see that as, you know, the, like, how amazing that is that he gives us, you know, that chance to do that. But when we start saying, well, I could have been this, or I could have been that, or which I think at the state of my life, you know, like I'm not there now. But it's hard when you're in that, you know, when you have littles and you're in that, and you're just, sometimes you're looking around and you're like, is this, you know, what I, you know, is this it? Again, especially if you had like a place maybe of authority, or a place of you know, what we talked about today, maybe you were something, right? But the thing is that we're all something. You know, we're all something wherever he has us. And so it's kind of those different lenses of putting things on and saying, I want to be where he has me. And if that if that's at home, you know, diapering babies and cleaning toilets, that's where he has me. And I'm going to do it to the best that I can. And when you are able to take that and make it something beautiful and see it for the beauty that it is, then he says, okay, we've gotten you through this, and you've learned and you've grown, and you know, you have fed into your children, you've fed into your husband, you have fed into other women who need support, you have let me feed into you, and you have grown, and you have gone deeper in the word, and you've leaned on me when you needed to lean on me, when things were chaotic and things were at their worst. So now my beloved, you know, my daughter, now we're going to move you to the next thing. And I'm going to be right here with you, because it may seem scary. And it's sometimes, you know, that thing that we wanted, you know, 15, 20 years ago, when we're faced with it now, it's like, oh, I've just been at home. I've just been at home, you know, taking care of my family. I don't think I'm ready to step out. I don't know if I want to step out. And he's like, no, now's the time. Now's the time to start taking all those things you've learned these last 20 years. And now you're going to start sharing those with people. You're going to start ministering to people. You're going to start encouraging people. And so I just think that's just a beautiful, you know, way to put that idea of the perspective and our identity, you know, cycles that we go through all the time. It's part of our life, and we have to be willing to just step into that and be okay with that.
Erica, I think too, you know, just listening to you describe, you know, the early stages of motherhood, you know, diapers and all that. I really think that what you're saying can apply at any point, you know, in your life as a mom, or wherever you're at, you know, whether you're a mom or not. But I think that, you know, the father, like when we're busy, or when we're in a place, it keeps us there for quite a while, right? And then when you're talking about when you come out of that, you think, okay, now what? And somehow, you know, we as women, we tend to like compare ourselves and look to others and say, oh wow, they're still ahead You know, they know so much, they've been doing so much, and they, you know, you listen to somebody's conversation and you're like, you just start feeling so less than, you know. But what we fail to realize so often is that whatever we just came out of,
Mhm.
Yahweh uses it. The Father will
Mhm.
use it, and there's always someone that's gonna need to hear your story, to hear the experiences, to hear how you made it through or got out, how you know, the creativity that was used to get past the situation, what you learned, you know, through, if it was a painful situation, what you learned. The Father uses that because someone's in need. So it's
Mhm.
like not less than, it's what can I give? What can I
Mhm.
give to someone in need, right?
Mhm.
So if we can just remember not to compare ourselves, you know, but to just come to a gathering and say, this is what I have to offer, right? Um,
Mhm.
if we don't look at each other as in, you know, measuring up, they give so much, I give so little, or, you know, what is this? No, that's not how the Father looks at us.
Mhm.
It's like, I've been teaching you something. You know, give your gift that I gave you, give it wholeheartedly.
Mhm. Absolutely. And when we want to take on someone else's role, when we are envious of that and say, well, that's what I want, or and maybe that was something you had a desire for at one time, but circumstances and things have changed, and now you see someone else stepping into that, and it's like, well, I was really hoping that would be me. One, you may be taking, that's like a blessing on them. That's theirs. That's for them. And so when you're so focused on that and you're not focused on what he has for you, um, what he wants to reveal to you, that he has something for you, you might miss it. And, he'll definitely bring it to your attention, but it might be in a little more difficult way. See, I think somebody got something else. I see Tish mentioned Christine Ballas's Appointed Times book, which I have right here, right there. And it has great journal things, meditations. She's talked about over on our chat. Tish mentioned don't let the giants produce fear in you, 1 John 4:18, and remove the masks. Esther, reading through Esther. Esther is definitely, this is the time to get into it. And especially I think with your, if you have little girls or something, or big girls, I have big girls, but this is a good time to maybe go over some of those things that themes that you see played out in there.
For Purim, you want to set your calendar for the 16th that evening, but we're gonna do it so you can see it, have it ahead of time if you want. But we have a monologue, we'll have like someone be fully in character as Esther, going through the story of Esther and sharing about that. And it'll be fun. You can have ladies over, dress up, and you guys watch it together. And it would be big girls, little girls, and everybody dress up and have fun food. It will be a fun thing for you all.
Awesome. That sounds like a great opportunity for little girls' night. Yeah, that's beautiful, Tish. She just said that it's exciting to watch how Abba uses this and what he has in store for those who are allowing him to be molded by him. Any other thoughts on any of the past months? We can talk about any of the months. If you have questions on some of the different aspects or things that we go over. Got gates and constellations. I know sometimes the constellations can be one of those things that come up. So I don't know how many of you have, I know I see familiar faces that I know have been in our calls before and gone through that, but you can always email me that very first video we did for Heshbon. has a lot more of the informational overall at the beginning of that one, on that video. Okay. Well, ladies, I don't see anything else going on over here in the chat. I always just appreciate you, and I love seeing when you guys make those connections and they come up maybe in the portion or different places, somebody talking about the theme of the month. Like, I just get so excited for people when they begin to see those. And then you feel like you're not like the only one. You're like, oh, I'm not, someone else is seeing it and getting it. And so I just really appreciate you journeying with me, because I'm always just learning and growing with these months. As Rhonda and I can both tell you, our journey has just grown from, from Keisha's book to so many things that he has just taught us. And it's exciting, because it helps you really just stay aware and be in the moment with him, day by day, week by week, month by month, being renewed at every opportunity. So I hope you guys are getting that same blessing. Yes, Rhonda.
I just was thinking, this past week, I've been trying to read the scripture in Psalms 119 that's associated with the letter for the month, right? And this morning when I was reading, so for some of you ladies, we're a month behind you guys. I was just thinking, oh wow, it's winding down. This month is winding down, and I realized that I'm seeing or understanding just that short passage of scripture on that particular letter, in a new way. It's not just reading it, but just trying to read it every morning before I leave out, just trying to have, to take something with me before I go to school has been really, really nice. Just a repetition of reading those few verses, because memorization is something that I kind of struggle with, but to be able to read it and know that I'm connecting with something that has to do with, with the month, with, this time that he's given us. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, that was something new that Rhonda added to our like all of our handouts that she gives, is that she prints out the 119 Psalm 119 passage that goes with that letter. And I know I've also used Lauren Cruz's book, The Strength of a Woman, that we did in our book club. I've looked at I was like, oh, I wonder what she has to say about it. And it was like, oh my gosh, this was because I hadn't finished the book. That was when we were still doing the book club. And so since I had it on hand, I was like, oh yeah, I should look and see what she has on this. And it was just a beautiful addition. So it's like no end to the different themes and things that you can do. And it just brings more and more to the month and to your walk. That's what that's all this is for. This not just for knowledge sake. It's not just to say, okay, we have all of these things that we know about the month, that the Hebrew sages said this and it does this. But when you start seeing it all line up and how it really does just, if you want to say that it prophetically is just, comes out, whether it's in your life, in what we're seeing in the world, what we're seeing maybe at work, in our assemblies, in our homes, whatever it may be, it just has all of these beautiful things that come together. And I know personally for me, has been huge growth just spiritually, studying the months. So thank you, Tish, for, she said a little thank you over there. And I love that she's got the kitchen chalkboard for her month. And so that's awesome. I just love when seeing that happening. So I'm so thankful just to have more people to talk about this with. So always, again, just let me know what you're thinking. If you have questions, if you find resources about the different things that we bring up, I would love to, like, if you have like a book or an article you read. I had some articles yesterday I was coming across. I was like, oh, this is good. So I'm like bookmarking like all kinds of stuff. And so we'll see what I have next month when we meet again. We'll do a bigger extension on Adar. And so, yeah. So ladies, I'm going to pray us out. I'm going to do the new moon blessing, and you can find those in Keisha's book too. There's a couple different ones. And so I'm going to read. Oh, Father Yahweh, we just come before you, giving you thanks and praise. May it be your will, Adonai, our Elohim, the Elohim of our forefathers, to renew this month for us with goodness and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, a life of goodness, a life of blessing, a life of sustenance, a life of physical health, a life that reflects a true reverence for you, and a dread of sin, a life that is free from shame and disgrace, a life of wealth and honor, a life in which we have a love of Torah, our Messiah, and an awe of heaven, a life in which our heartfelt requests are fulfilled for the good. Amen. And Father, I just pray for these ladies. I pray for those who are here tonight and for those who will hear this message later. Father, I just pray that you would speak into them about the themes of Adar. Maybe they need your joy. Joy is the strength, Father. And I just pray that they would be able to walk that out. I pray that as you're revealing things to them, Father, that they would just rejoice in those things, even if it's a hard thing. Father, I pray that in our world right now, there's so much going on, and there needs to be some masks pulled off of that. And I just pray, Father, that we are ready for those things, and we're ready to answer questions for people who are just not sure about what's going on in the world. Father, let us be sure. Let us be sure in you and what you have us walking out, loving you, having hope in your Torah, in your commands. Let us delight in those, Father, so that we can share that and be that city on the hill, that light to the world, Father. We love you and praise you and give all glory to you. Hallelujah and amen. Thank you so much, ladies.